Let me start with this truth. You can't pray for abundance and stay friends with laziness. That's like asking God for harvest while refusing to plant the seed. Laziness is not a personality trait. It's a spiritual thief dressed in comfort. And as long as you keep letting comfort whisper in your ear, your destiny will keep getting delayed. So today, we're not negotiating with laziness. We're going to kill it. Now, let me give you a hook that might sting a little. Laziness is not tiredness. It's disobedience to your potential. You're not tired. You're untapped. You've got strength sitting in your spirit that's never been activated because you've been waiting for motivation instead of moving with discipline. See, motivation is seasonal, but discipline is eternal. Motivation shows up when it feels good, but discipline shows up even when it hurts. Let's tell the truth most people don't want to face. Laziness isn't a comfort zone. It's a crime scene where dreams go to die. It's a silent thief that sneaks into your potential, robs your time, and leaves you broke in your purpose. The problem is it doesn't break in with noise. It walks in quietly, disguised as, I deserve a break, or I'll do it later. And before you know it, the later you promise yourself has turned into a lifetime of waiting. Laziness doesn't feel dangerous in the moment because it offers short-term peace while charging long-term pain. That's how it traps you. It tells you to relax today and face regret tomorrow. But here's the truth. Comfort now creates crisis later. You don't lose because you're incapable. You lose because you get too comfortable being capable and not committed. Laziness always makes a deal with your destiny. It says, give me your effort and I'll give you ease. But ease is the most expensive trade you'll ever make. You think you're saving energy, but you're really spending opportunity. Every minute you spend being lazy is a vote against your future. And the longer you delay, the more expensive the dream becomes. You cannot afford to keep paying the price of postponement. Every time you choose rest, when you haven't earned it, you're teaching your body to quit before it conquers. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you're handing your progress to someone else who's willing to do it now. Here's a hook to grab you. Laziness doesn't show up to stop you. It shows up to seduce you. It doesn't say, don't move. It says, you've got time. It doesn't say, give up. It says, take it easy. But the easy road never leads to elevation. The easy road always takes you downhill. People think success is stolen by struggle, but no, success is stolen by stillness. The greatest enemy of greatness isn't failure, it's inaction. Failure can be fixed, inaction cannot. You can recover from a mistake, but you can't recover from what you never started. Think about this. Every master was once an amateur who refused to stay lazy. Every success story began with a decision to move when it was inconvenient. You don't beat laziness by thinking your way out. You beat it by acting your way out. When your body says rest, your purpose must whisper rise. Because laziness feeds on hesitation. And hesitation is the slow death of ambition. When you train yourself to move even when you don't feel like it, that's when your potential starts to unlock. You become unstoppable when you stop negotiating with your excuses. Let's get real. Laziness is not a sleep problem, it's a vision problem. You don't need more rest, you need more reason. When your reason is strong enough, your resistance becomes weak. When your purpose burns hot enough, your procrastination melts. You've got to make your dream so vivid, so alive, that laziness can't survive in its presence. Because when your vision consumes you, comfort can't control you. Don't let the thief of tomorrow steal the opportunity of today. Here's another hook. You can't walk in power while you're sitting in pity. Every day you delay is another day you deny your divine potential. You've got too much greatness inside you to let laziness babysit your destiny. You've got to make a decision today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. That laziness will no longer live in your life rent-free. Kick it out and move like your purpose depends on it, because it does. When you start treating your time as sacred, your success becomes inevitable. Laziness can't coexist with discipline. One of them has to die, and today it's laziness. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire that never goes out. Most people live their lives chasing the spark, waiting for that perfect feeling, that perfect mood, that perfect wave of inspiration to show up before they act. But those who win in life understand this one truth. You don't move because you're motivated. You get motivated because you move. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes when it pleases. But discipline is a resident. It stays. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It demands that you move even when you don't feel like it. The people who rise to greatness aren't the ones who felt inspired every day. They're the ones who acted even when every part of them screamed, "Not today." Here's a hook you need to lock in your spirit. You'll never master anything you only practice when you feel like it. Feelings are fragile. Discipline is durable. Motivation is emotional energy. It excites you for a moment, but discipline is spiritual energy. It sustains you for a lifetime. When you rely on motivation, you're letting your emotions decide your destiny. But when you live by discipline, you let your decisions determine your direction. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're not just building skill, you're building strength. You're telling the universe that you can be trusted with success because you don't quit when it's inconvenient. You've got to understand that discipline isn't punishment, it's empowerment. Discipline doesn't restrict you, it refines you. The gym doesn't build your body because you showed up once. It builds your body because you kept showing up. The business doesn't grow because you had one great idea. It grows because you keep sowing effort after the excitement fades. The relationship doesn't thrive because of one romantic gesture. It thrives because of consistent commitment. You can't microwave mastery. You have to marinate in consistency. The truth is, motivation will get you out of bed once. Discipline will keep you moving long after the feeling fades. And that's where the winners live, in the valley of, I don't feel like it. That's where strength is forged, where character is born, where purpose gets proven. Every morning you don't want to rise, and you rise anyway. You're proving to yourself that your will is stronger than your weakness. Discipline is the bridge between your intention and your manifestation. Without it, dreams remain decorations in your mind. Here's another hook to keep in your heart. Motivation makes promises, but discipline delivers them. Motivation tells you what's possible. Discipline shows you what's real. You can post quotes all day long. You can talk about your goals. You can visualize your success. But none of that means anything if you don't move. The universe doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to work. Discipline turns inspiration into implementation. It takes your someday and transforms it into right now. When you operate with discipline, you stop being a slave to your circumstances. You stop depending on the weather of your emotions to determine your actions. Whether you're tired, broke, uninspired, or uncertain, discipline says, we're doing it anyway. That's the energy that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. You can't build a legacy with convenience. You build it with consistency. The strongest people are not the most motivated. They are the most trained. They've trained their mind to move when it's hard, to show up when it's uncomfortable, to keep going when others quit. You've got to treat discipline like a muscle. It grows every time you use it. At first, it hurts. It feels unnatural. But soon, it becomes part of who you are. You won't need to push yourself because your identity will push you. The disciplined version of you doesn't argue with laziness. It simply doesn't identify with it. Because once discipline becomes your default, laziness becomes your past. Motivation gets you excited for the day, but discipline builds your life for decades. So the next time you don't feel motivated, remember this: you don't need to feel ready to begin. You just need to begin to feel ready. And when you do, you'll realize that the power was never in the feeling. It was always in the follow through. Excuses are the elegant language of limitation, the poetic way the mind explains why it's not doing what it knows it should. Every excuse sounds convincing to the one who says it, but deep down, you know it's just a shield, something you build to protect yourself from discomfort, rejection, or effort. The truth is, excuses don't keep you safe, they keep you stuck. They sound like protection, but they operate as a prison. You can dress them up with logic, you can decorate them with reason, but they all lead to the same destination: regret. Here's the hook. Excuses are lies you tell yourself today to make peace with the failure you'll face tomorrow. You can't move forward while holding hands with excuses. They may comfort you for a moment, but they'll cost you forever. Excuses are dangerous because they sound reasonable. I'm too tired. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. It's not the right season. Those phrases don't sound like rebellion. They sound like responsibility. But what they really are is resistance in disguise. The human mind will always choose the path of least resistance. But your destiny demands the path of persistence. Every excuse you make is a declaration that you've accepted limitation as your lifestyle. You can't speak the language of excuses and expect the results of excellence. Excellence doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It creates them. It doesn't say, I can't. It says, I will find a way. Let's get real for a second. If it matters to you, you'll make it happen. If it doesn't, you'll make an excuse. It's that simple. You will never meet a truly successful person who's mastered the art of excuse making. The successful don't justify, they execute. They don't explain why they can't. They discover how they can. The difference between success and stagnation isn't opportunity, it's ownership. People who succeed take ownership of their choices, while people who fail take comfort in their excuses. And ownership always produces outcomes. The moment you stop saying, I can't because, and start saying, I will even if, your whole life shifts. Here's a truth that hits hard. Excuses are dreams dressed in defeat. Every excuse you make weakens your belief in yourself. It tells your subconscious that you're powerless, that life is in control, not you. But when you stop making excuses, you reclaim your authority. You stop waiting for circumstances to change, and you start changing yourself. You realize that growth doesn't require convenience. It requires commitment. You don't need everything to be easy. You just need to decide that nothing will stop you. When you truly commit, you'll find energy you didn't know you had, time you didn't know existed, and strength you didn't believe was in you. Excuses always appeal to emotion. They make you feel justified in your inaction. But emotion is temporary, and the results of your excuses are permanent. You have to stop negotiating with mediocrity. You can't be loyal to your limitations and faithful to your future at the same time. One of them has to die. And the one that needs to die is your excuse story. Because your story might explain your past, but it can't excuse your future. Every time you tell that story, why it didn't work, why it's hard, why it's unfair, you're feeding the version of yourself that doesn't grow. You're watering weeds instead of planting seeds. You want power. Take responsibility. Responsibility gives you control, and control gives you freedom. The moment you say, it's on me, you take your power back from every excuse you've ever made. Life doesn't get easier when you stop making excuses. It just gets clearer. You stop waiting for a break and start becoming the break. You stop blaming your environment and start building your environment. You stop hoping for better days and start creating them. And here's the final hook to keep burning in your mind. Excuses build walls around your potential, but discipline builds doors to your destiny. The more you excuse, the smaller your world becomes. But the moment you choose ownership over excuses, the world opens up to meet you with possibility, power, and purpose. Action is the antidote to laziness. It's the medicine that cures hesitation, fear, and doubt. You can think about your goals all day long, visualize your dreams, pray for breakthrough, but until you move, nothing changes. You don't manifest results by thinking about them. You manifest them by acting on them. Here's the truth: most people miss clarity. Doesn't come before movement. It comes from movement. You can't steer a parked car, and you can't guide a stagnant life. The universe responds to action, not intention. You may have great intentions, but if you never translate them into consistent action, they die as potential. And potential without action is just wasted power. Here's the hook. The difference between winners and wishers is not desire, it's discipline in motion. But most people are waiting for the perfect moment. They say, I'll start when I'm ready. But the truth is, you'll never feel fully ready. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You prepare by proceeding. You learn by doing. You grow by going. There is no magic moment when all the stars align, the timing feels right, and the conditions are comfortable. That's not reality. That's procrastination disguised as patience. The people who achieved great things in life didn't wait for the right time. They decided that the time they had was right. They understood that progress doesn't happen by accident. It happens by action. Here's something powerful to remember. Action kills fear faster than fear kills action. The longer you wait, the stronger your doubt becomes. Every time you hesitate, your confidence decays. But every time you move, your belief grows. Action builds faith, because faith without works is dead. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Just move. The first step won't take you where you want to go, but it will take you out of where you are. You can pray for doors to open, but you still have to knock. You can dream about opportunity, but you still have to show up. Movement is the signal that tells life you're serious. Here's another hook. You can't outthink your way into success. You have to outwork your excuses. People often confuse planning with progress. Planning is easy. Acting is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Action requires courage because it means leaving the comfort of what's known for the possibility of what's next. It means failing, learning, and moving again. But the beauty of action is that it always gives you feedback. Even if you fail, you gain wisdom. Even if it doesn't work, you learn what does. Failure only hurts when you stop moving. As long as you stay in motion, you're evolving. The power of action is that it creates momentum. Momentum is like gravity. It pulls everything else forward. When you take one step, it becomes easier to take the next. When you show up once, it becomes easier to show up again. You start to build a rhythm, and rhythm creates results. Discipline becomes easier when action becomes a habit. The secret to mastery isn't doing big thing once, it's doing one small thing consistently. Action compounds. Every call you make, every workout you finish, every page you write, they stack. And one day those small actions add up to something massive. The problem is most people underestimate how powerful small, consistent actions can be. They're waiting for a big opportunity, but the truth is, big results are built from small repetitions. You don't need to take giant leaps. You just need to take faithful steps. Action isn't about perfection, it's about progression. Don't wait to feel confident to move. Move until you feel confident. Confidence isn't born in thought, it's born in execution. When you act, you learn. When you learn, you grow. And when you grow, you move closer to the version of yourself that no longer hesitates. So here's the truth that changes everything. You can't pray laziness away, you've got to outwork it. You can't hope hesitation away, you've got to outrun it. Every time you act, you silence that inner voice of doubt. Every time you take a step forward, you prove that fear doesn't control you. The cure for overthinking is action, and the cure for underachieving is consistency. If you want to change your life, don't wait another day, move today. Because the world doesn't reward people who think about doing great things. It rewards those who take the first step and never stop walking. When you find your purpose, laziness loses its grip. Purpose is the fire that makes fatigue disappear, the force that turns resistance into rhythm. You don't have to push people who are driven by purpose. They're already pulled by it. The reason most people stay lazy isn't because they lack energy, it's because they lack meaning. Purpose gives meaning to effort. And when your effort has meaning, it no longer feels like struggle, it feels like service. Here's the hook. You can't stay lazy about something that sets your soul on fire. The moment you understand why you're doing something, every excuse that once stopped you becomes irrelevant. You stop asking, how long will it take? And start saying, as long as it takes. When you serve your calling, work transforms from a burden into a blessing. You no longer need external motivation because your mission becomes your momentum. People who live without purpose need to be constantly inspired, constantly pushed, constantly reminded. But people who walk in purpose wake up with intention. They don't need a reason to start. They need a reason to stop. Purpose gives you stamina that sleep can't restore and strength that struggle can't steal. You stop chasing comfort and start chasing contribution. You begin to see that laziness isn't a problem of time, it's a problem of connection. The more connected you are to your calling, the less you have to convince yourself to move. Purpose simplifies your life. It clears the fog of confusion and focuses your energy where it matters most. When you know what you're called to do, you stop wasting energy on things that don't align with that call. You stop fighting distractions because your direction becomes undeniable. Purpose filters your decisions. It tells you what deserves your yes and what demands your no. Without purpose, everything feels urgent, but nothing feels important. But with purpose, you know exactly which battles are worth fighting. And when your energy is focused, excellence becomes inevitable. Here's another hook to hold on to. Laziness dies the day you fall in love with your assignment. When you realize that your gifts were given to you to serve something bigger than yourself, you stop playing small. You start showing up differently. You stop working for money and start working for meaning. You stop measuring progress by how tired you are and start measuring it by how impactful you've become. Serving your calling doesn't just eliminate laziness. It transforms you into a force that others can't ignore. Because when you operate from passion and purpose, your work carries power. It inspires others, it multiplies impact, and it creates a ripple effect far beyond your own effort. People who lack purpose always look for permission, but people who walk in purpose don't need permission. They create opportunity. Purpose makes you resourceful. You stop saying, I don't have enough, and start saying, I'll make it happen. You realize that vision attracts provision. The universe aligns with those who act with intention. When you move in purpose, doors start opening. Not because luck found you, but because you found your lane. You stop waiting for someone to believe in you because purpose teaches you to believe in yourself. Here's a truth that hits deep. When you serve your calling, you don't chase rewards. Rewards chase you. You attract results because consistency becomes your second nature. Purpose rewires your habits. It doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. Even when you fail, purpose gives you the courage to try again. It keeps you anchored when things get hard and keeps you humble when things go well. That's why lazy people stay lost. They're drifting without direction. But purposeful people can endure storms because they're sailing toward something greater than themselves. When you align your actions with your assignment, your entire life changes. You stop existing and start excelling. You stop counting hours and start making hours count. You stop wondering if you're good enough and start realizing you were made for this. Purpose doesn't make the work easy. It makes it essential. And when something is essential, laziness can't compete with it. You get up, you move, you create, you contribute, not because someone's watching, but because it's who you are. That's the power of purpose. It doesn't just destroy laziness, it awakens destiny. Let today be the funeral of your laziness and the rebirth of your greatness. Don't just hear this message, act on it. Because action is the antidote to laziness and discipline is the bridge to destiny. Remember this? If you won't move for your dream, don't complain when your dream moves on without you. So rise up, kill your laziness, and walk boldly into the life you were created to live.